So, folks, we got to talk a little bit about Jeffrey Epstein and the Epstein files that were recently released. We got to talk about it because I think what's being painted here is a broader picture of far right radicalization done intentionally. All right? It's important. Obviously, there's a lot of like sex crimes in the Epstein files, a lot of pedophiles, a lot of abuse, a lot of unspeakably awful things and allegations in there. Um, but one of the things I wanted to bring up is a different aspect of this that isn't necessarily as talked about, which is that there's a project that Jeffrey Epstein was working on. And that project was building a network of both highly credible people and giving them suggestions in order to empower far-right narratives. Whether they were on the left or the right, his intention here was to effectively curry favor with various intellectuals and influential people and then alter their behavior in order to empower far-right movement. Right there, and this kind of almost plays into the joke of like, oh, if Jeffrey Epstein had just been alive for a little bit longer and pivoted towards the GOP, he might have been able to get a pardon. And like, unironically, that seems to be borne out by what's happened with Ghislaine Maxwell, for example. And we're seeing now in these documents a level of obsequiousness from even from people we might not have expected. And one of the first things I want to talk about today is Noam Chomsky. Now, I know a lot of people really respect Noam Chomsky's ideas and his writing and his activism against war, for example. But I gotta say, we're in some awful territory, I guess we'll just say. Manufacturing consent might be extraordinarily respected, but it was very weird when Noam Chomsky was asked about Jeffrey Epstein ties, and he got real cagey about it. Well, here is a message from Noam Chomsky. This is, again, 2019, after Jeffrey Epstein's already a convicted pedophile. I've watched the horrible way you're being treated in the press and public. It's painful to say, but I think the best way to proceed is to ignore it. I've had plenty of experience, though of course not on this scale. A Google search will bring up tons of hysterical accusations of all sorts, even groups devoted to vilifying me. I pay no attention unless I'm approached for a comment on a specific matter. It's a nuisance, but it's the best way. The same conclusions from experiences of others, in some cases close friends. What the vultures dearly want is a public response, which then provides a public opening for an onslaught of venomous attacks, many from just publicity seekers or cranks of all sorts, which are impossible to answer. How do you prove that you are not a neo-Nazi who wants to kill the Jews, or a rapist, or whatever charge comes along? Interesting example to give there, Noam. That's particularly true now that the hysteria that has developed about abuse of women, which has reached the point that even questioning a charge is a crime worse than murder. For virtually everyone who sees any of this, the reaction will be, where there's smoke, there's fire, maybe raging fire, whatever the facts, which few will even think of investigating. And again, I want to pause here and say this is something he wrote to a guy who was convicted for child abuse. In general, it's best, I think, not to react unless directly questioned, particularly in the current mood, which I presume will fade away, even if not in time, to prevent much torture and distress. Hard to say, but it's the best advice I can think of. Noam. What the fuck is he talking about? He's talking about the Me Too movement. He's talking about how the Me Too movement dug up more accusations about Jeffrey Epstein and dug up more of Jeffrey Epstein's abuses. And he's then going out and giving Jeffrey Epstein advice on how to deal with the PR fallout of all of this, while talking about the hysteria around the abuse of women. As if it's like something, again, and hysteria, let's be very clear here, Noam Chomsky is a linguistics guy. He understands the import of using the word hysteria, which is specifically related to women being crazy. Women be crazy. It's the moon in their uteruses. And again, the context of this is offering advice to a convicted pedophile while downplaying the sexual abuse of women, while knowing that this is a guy who's convicted of sexually abusing women and children. When I say that one of the broader examples and broader, not broader examples, one of the broader points of Jeffrey Epstein's work was to create a structure for fascism, a network for far-right agitation, and he bought favors and bought the attention and goodwill of different people, regardless of their position on the political spectrum. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Noam Chomsky should ostensibly repudiate everything that this guy stands for, and yet Noam Chomsky is obsequiously coming to this man in private, like offering him advice on how to deal with PR disputes for abusing women. Like, this shouldn't happen, and the only reason it is happening is because of money. It's because of this this factor. And I want to note that again, we have a lot of folks who in public say they were not associated with Epstein being outed as being involved with Epstein. Here's journalist Leigh Alexander talking about how in 2020 she asked Elon Musk about whether or not he gave Jeffrey Epstein a tour of SpaceX after he was caught photographed by with Ghislaine Maxwell. And oh, thanks for the tour. You would have had fun at Christmas. From Elon Musk to Jeffrey, or from Jeffrey Epstein to Elon Musk. And then Elon responds, "I see," smiley face. In 2020, they're denying allegations that Jeffrey Epstein was given a tour of SpaceX. And then it turns out in 2013, he was in fact given a tour of SpaceX. There is a level of complicity here that is happening behind the scenes that is deliberate. It's not an accident that Jeffrey Epstein curried favor with these people. It's part of a larger project. I want to read an excerpt from Marx to you guys. This is from a 1944 manuscript that he wrote, right? And it reads, "That which is for me the medium of money." That which is for me through the medium of money. That for which I can pay, i.e. which money can buy, or that which money can buy, that am I myself, the possessor of the money. So essentially in this phrase here, Marx is saying that when you have money, other people in society treat the money as an extension of you. Did I say 1944? I meant 1844. My bad. So other people treat money as an extension of you, right? And he goes on to say, "The extent of the power of money is the extent of my power. Money's properties are the possessor's, properties and essential powers. Thus, what I am and am capable of is by no means determined by my individuality. I am ugly, but I can buy for myself the most beautiful of women. Therefore, I am not ugly. For the effects of ugliness, its deterrent power is nullified by money. I, according to my individual characteristics, am lame, but money furnishes me with 24 feet. Therefore, I am not lame. I am bad, dishonest, unscrupulous, stupid, but money is honored, and hence so is its possessor. Money is the supreme good, therefore its possessor is good. Money, besides, saves me the trouble of being dishonest. I am therefore presumed honest. I am brainless, but money is the real brain of all things, and how then should its possessor be brainless? Besides, he can buy clever people for himself, and is he who has power over the clever not more clever than the clever? Do not I, who thanks to money am capable of all that the human heart longs for, possess all human capacities? Does not my money, therefore, transform all my incapacities into their contrary? So, what Marx is describing here is the process by which people obsequiously bow to capital. It is why Noam Chomsky goes to Jeffrey Epstein in private and bends the knee. He's bought. He's paid for. He recognizes this man's power, or rather, the power that this man's money can buy him. Marx is not writing here to support this as a good thing. Marx is writing this here to describe the actions of those who possess money. He is describing a capitalist. He is describing exactly the phenomenon that we can identify in Jeffrey Epstein and his associations. That's what he's describing here. Like, it's rare for us to just have laid bare for us the exact operating and social interacting between powerful elites, like what we are seeing in the Epstein files. And when I say that there is a project to reconstruct Jeffrey Epstein, what I mean by that is they are trying to reconstruct the bonds of power that Jeffrey Epstein constructed through his money and the use of his power. And so there is a sociopathy there. There is a derangement of the normal default human condition, and that derangement is what Marx is describing here. Right? And that brings me to the next point. The point of rebuilding Epstein. Because surely if there is a project to rebuild Epstein, there is someone who is in charge of this project. And we actually have, in the Epstein files, an association that might be pretty revealing. Which is that there is, in fact, in the Epstein files, back in 2018, correspondence between Jeffrey Epstein and one Nellie Bowles. From Jeffrey Epstein to Nellie Bowles. How did it go introducing your partner to mom? Even better than the good career move, smiley face? Ah ha ha ha, I missed this. Just figured out who you are. It actually went great. How's New York? Which prince is trying to buy the house today? When STE, you and your babe back in New York City? It's important to note here that Nellie Bowles is a reporter for the New York Times. And it is also very important to note that this appears to be the same Nellie Bowles. Well, let's just take a look. Appears to be this Nellie Bowles, who has a Wikipedia page. And, oh, let's just zoom in here at the very top of this Wikipedia page. An American journalist and satirist, before co-founding the Free Press with her spouse, Barry Weiss. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I think we might have a bit of a problem here. Yeah, what are the odds that all of these people associated with Jeffrey Epstein are now trying to reconstruct the very network that made them powerful and influential in the first place? The very nexus of power that allowed them to exist at all in the spaces they currently occupy. Now, let's just take a quick look here. Again, I missed this and just figured out who you are. It actually went great. How's New York? Which prince is trying to buy the house today? And I want to point out, this is in 2018. Again, this is after Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted pedophile. And Epstein's response is, I'm trying to buy Cosby. And Nellie Bowles replies, checks out. This is, by the way, how Jeffrey Epstein thought about people. He bought people. So, yeah, interesting stuff here. It is also very interesting to note that Barry Weiss's operation at CBS seems to be hiring an awful lot of other people who are mentioned in the Epstein documents. And maybe that's just a coincidence. You know? Maybe that's just something strange going on. Maybe it's just a fluke of the universe. But I want to point out that Jeet here, who, folks, if you don't know who Jeet here is, he writes for The Nation. He has a really good podcast that I recommend you guys check out called Now The Time of Monsters, which is a take on the Gramsci quote. It's good stuff. But Jeet here is putting together quite a few dots on the timeline today. The new batch of Epstein documents helps illuminate one contemporary controversy. What is Barry Weiss up to at CBS? I think the answer is she's trying to rehabilitate the Epstein network as a bulwark of reactionary centrism. Let me explain. And I would actually argue with Jeet here, specifically because I don't think that Barry Weiss is trying to rehabilitate anything in reactionary centrist terms. I think Barry Weiss is deliberately trying to go farther than that. I think Barry Weiss is trying to rehabilitate CBS into a far-right propaganda network. I think she is trying to continue the work of Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein, the guy who, again, talked openly with associates in the Epstein files here about getting, did you tell the Norwegians that the child murderer was a lefty radical? Yes, went over well. Eco-fascist, though he gave a Nazi salute. This is an email exchange where Jeffrey Epstein is trying to push the idea that Anders Breivik, one of the most heinous mass murderers of the modern age, who killed 33 children, was a leftist, a man who was an out-and-out neo-Nazi and made no secret about it, and is still alive, by the way. I believe that there is a concerted effort here that goes beyond any kind of reactionary centrism that Barry Weiss espouses. I think that Barry Weiss is no different than someone who comes into this chat and says, oh, I am but a humble, moderate conservative. And then you talk to them for an hour or so, and it comes out that they're actually just a fascist. And they'll be like, well, I don't like using the term fascist. I call myself a phalangist. And you're like, that's just a fascist in Spain. Like, that's just a more specific type of fascist. And so I just have to say, I don't think this is a centrist operation. I don't think any effort to resurrect Jeffrey Epstein's network of associates and network of cash flow is a centrist operation. I think it is an out-and-out far-right fascist one. But I do think that Jeet here is onto something here. All right? Let's lay out the connections. Weiss's partner and ideological collaborator, Nellie Bowles, was on very familiar terms with Epstein. Again, Nellie's talking with him about how coming out to her mom went. Fairly close relationship. Announcing her plans for CBS, Weiss said she wants to marginalize the radical right and left while elevating charismatic centrist voices such as Alan Dershowitz, Epstein's former lawyer and crony. Alan, I kept my underwear on during the massage, Dershowitz. But I'm gonna tell you guys, I don't think that just saying, oh, you want to marginalize the radical right, I don't believe that. I believe that when Barry Weiss says she wants to, like, marginalize the radical right, I think she's talking about the unpolite far-right individuals, right? Because I think that Barry Weiss, for example, would be more than happy to elevate someone like Ben Shapiro, who is, I want to be clear, far-right. He is effectively a fascist, right? But the thing is, Ben Shapiro doesn't swear. He doesn't use slurs, generally. I think that she is okay elevating the far right as long as they are polite about their fascism. I think that when she says she wants to marginalize the radical right, she's talking about people like Nick Fuentes, who are out there dropping all kinds of slurs for every different kind of racial, ethnic, religious group known to man, right? She is there to essentially grind off the rough edges of fascism. Yeah. In American, she wants to redraw the lines of what falls in the 40 yards of acceptable debate in American political and cultural life. She says the aim is to sideline voices like Hassan Piker, Tucker Carlson, and Nick Fuentes and elevate charismatic figures such as Alan Dershowitz and Dana Loesch, who reflect where the vast majority of Americans actually are. Just out of curiosity, what is Dana Loesch up to these days? Like, I haven't seen Dana Loesch do anything in recent years. Wasn't she like the NRA spokesperson? Yeah, she was the former spokesperson of the NRA. She's not really up to that much, I guess. Like, she's relatively quiet recently, I guess. News, maybe? I guess she's appearing on Fox News a bit. But I wouldn't describe her as a moderate. Yeah, I mean, she's like engaging in like gutter transphobia and like anti-LGBTQ bigotry. She's just doing it without dropping slurs, as far as I can tell. Like, it's exactly what I was saying earlier, you know? It's exactly what I was saying. She's fine. Barry Weiss is fine elevating someone who will do polite rank bigotry, right? And of course, another voice being elevated by Weiss is Peter Attia. Here is Peter Attia, MD, emailing Jeffrey Epstein about the hardest thing about being friends with him. He cannot tell anyone about Epstein's lifestyle. From Jeffrey, subject, got a fresh shipment, afraid not. You, the biggest problem with becoming friends with you? The life you lead is so outrageous, and yet I can't tell a single soul. All of these people are bought and paid for by Jeffrey Epstein. Like, and Barry Weiss is trying to assemble the Epstein squad again. Barry Weiss has brought on Steven Pinker for CBS as part of the town hall thing that she's trying to make stick. And she used Larry Summers at the Free Press. And, oh, hey, wouldn't you know it, there's Alan Dershowitz, Steven Pinker, there's, oh, wow, it's all those guys. All those guys I just mentioned. Huh. All those guys just standing around in a picture with Jeffrey Epstein. That's so strange. It's so strange how, she's putting all of these people who knew Jeffrey Epstein into CBS News. Weird, right? Yeah. Weiss presents her mission at CBS as restoring trust by elevating centrist voices, which is accurate enough if we understand centrist voices to mean the type of men likely to hang out with Jeffrey Epstein. Completely forgot to mention Weiss did a lengthy, friendly interview with one of Epstein's closest friends, Woody Allen. Woody Allen? The man who married his stepdaughter? That Woody Allen? Yeah, Woody... Wait, what? Yeah, Woody Allen married his adopted daughter, Soon-Yi Previn. Yeah, he married her when she was an adult, but it really raises a bunch of questions considering the adoption, of course. Woody Allen is gross. It is worth noting that Soon-Yi was adopted by Mia Farrow and then husband Andre Previn in 1978 when she would have been 8 years old. Mia Farrow was married to Woody Allen from 1980 to 1992. Meaning that from 1980 to 1992, Woody Allen was her stepdad from the time she was 10. And obviously, when it became known that Woody Allen had a romantic relationship with her, Mia Farrow immediately divorced him. Yeah, it's really gross. I don't want to get into it. There's a reason why Woody Allen just hasn't been in the news lately, and it's because he's the disgusting piece of shit who also just so happens to have a very extensive history of hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. He was one of Jeffrey Epstein's best friends, which should tell you everything you need to know about him. And I think that this comment by Jeet here at the very end of his thread, Weiss's project is creating an Operation Paperclip for Epstein's cronies, taking a group of discredited men and rehabilitating them as necessary pillars of system. Dershowitz and Peter Attia are the Werner von Braun's of reactionary centrism. And again, I'm gonna go a step further. Alan Dershowitz is not a centrist. Alan Dershowitz is the kind of guy who goes to a county fair where he's been denied pierogies and like deliberately casts aspersions on a lesbian couple that doesn't want to serve him because he supports genocide. Alan Dershowitz is not a centrist. He is a far-right individual. These people are reconstructing the network of Jeffrey Epstein in an effort to build a far-right radicalization engine. And I have one last piece of information to show you guys from the Epstein files, and I think this should really clinch my argument here. It should really clinch my argument, which is that some fine folks have put together a timeline. And, well, this is pretty interesting. Let's open this in a new tab. Let's zoom in a little bit here. So, we start off with this. Here is Jeffrey Epstein, or to Jeffrey Epstein from Boris Nikolic. That's keep that name in mind. Last night and this morning in San Francisco. Fun. Also met some interesting people. There is a cool guy, kid, that you should meet. Christopher Poole. He's only 23. Read his bio. The rest of Dav in Seattle is in... the rest of day in Seattle in MTG. Tomorrow morning for New York City. What is plan regarding Woody? Have you tickets? Can't wait to see you. Woody presumably being Woody Allen, by the way. Now, you might think, okay, well, 23-year-old kid. Okay, interesting. Also, here is the next input here. From Epstein. Or, sorry, from Boris Nikolic to Epstein. Yes, he's great. I had no clue who he is when we met. We talked to almost an hour nonstop. He will be a friend. B. FYI, he is one of the greatest hackers. And then we get to another response, this time from Jeffrey Epstein. I liked Mott a lot. I drove him home. He is very bright. Again, what really becomes apparent in all of these is that the wealthy and the elites are disgusting individuals who cannot even string words together. Can't even string letters together. Oh, don't worry. You'll learn who Mott is in a moment. Sure, I will be there as well. In 2 weeks or so. Just left Bill running for a lunch with Rubenstein. How did you like Moot? He is very sensitive, so be gentle. Now, if you guys don't know who Moot is, that's the guy who founded and created 4chan. This is from 2011, this interaction. And wouldn't you know it, guess when? But by the way, these conversations, they take place on October 20th and October 24th. Well, folks, I got some news for you that some very keen-eyed observers were able to put together. guess what was started on October 23rd, 2011? /poll, politically incorrect. And it is arguable that from that board on 4chan, we began the normalization project of the far right to assert itself in our modern media ecosystem. When I say that they are trying to reconstruct a far-right reactionary movement, a fascistic movement, there is a deliberate connection here. There's a deliberate connection here. And guess what? Those aren't the only emails. Those aren't the only emails. Okay? From Jeffrey Epstein to Leslie Groff, tell Chris Poole to feel free to bring anyone he thinks is clever. Chris Poole has confirmed he will see you at 3 p.m. on Sunday, January 29th. We have now gone ahead a couple months here. We've got the founder of Reddit, who then went on to create /poll, seemingly at the behest of Jeffrey Epstein, now meeting him, going and hanging out with him in person. Here is 1 month later, Jeffrey, from blank to Jeffrey Epstein. See below from Chris. Subject, Chris Poole. From Chris Poole. Hi, blank. Sorry for missing this. I've been off email for the past few weeks in an attempt to catch up with the rest of life. Hoping to see Boris at TED and hope to see Jeffrey in New York. Hope you're well, Chris. And wow, here is February 14th. Hi, Chris. Jeffrey wanted me to let you know that Boris is around as well this week in New York. They all started hanging out together. The story seems to be that Moot had a one-on-one meeting, that this Chris Poole, also known as Moot, the founder of 4chan, had a one-on-one conversation with Jeffrey Epstein, and it resulted in the creation of /poll. And thus begins a decades-long saga to radicalize the media towards fascism. Boris Johnson, this is a different Boris. This is Boris Nikolic, who I don't know who that is. So when I'm saying that Barry Weiss here is trying to reconstruct, when Jeet here is saying like Barry Weiss is trying to reconstruct a centrist movement, I reject that. It's not centrist. She is deliberately constructing a far-right fascistic network. You do not create /poll and continue to protect it and defend it as necessary without the intervention of Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein is the reason /poll exists. Like, and from Poll, I want to remind you guys, like, 4chan became the hub for QAnon. The creators of where QAnon eventually went came from 4chan. All of this MAGA shit comes from 4chan. Like, the seeds of all of it are there. They are neo-Nazis, and they engage and defend pedophilia. It makes complete sense. What year was this? The initial meeting took place literally a day before the launch of /poll. The network that Barry Weiss is rebuilding, the Epstein network, is a fascist project. It makes perfect sense. Epstein was fascinated with buying people, with co-opting systems. Epstein was fascinated with eugenics. There is an overlap here and an obsession with power here that makes a whole lot of sense. This is all... This isn't an accident. And Barry Weiss knows it wasn't an accident, and she knows that her role in this is to just gather together all of these influential, wealthy people that Epstein's network made possible, and to give them a life raft, so that they are dependent on her, and thus beholden to defend her. Beholden to reassert this network. Now I understand why Fuentes is rehabbing Epstein's name. Exactly. Like, Nick Fuentes is selling Epstein merch now. There's a trend among the far right to try and make Epstein look like he's cool, to Photoshop themselves on Epstein's plane. They are doing this on purpose because they recognize the kindred spirit of what Epstein started. Nick Fuentes is selling what? Yeah. Here is a screenshot from Nick Fuentes' store based off of Epstein's wardrobe. The navy shirt with the red logo that Epstein was wearing in one of the photos, Fuentes decided to make his own version and started selling it in his online store for $70. Again, for these people, it's all a joke until suddenly it's not. It is all a big joke until suddenly you find out, well, no one here is actually joking, you know? Also, you know, in case you need it from the horse's mouth, here is America First HQ announcing the hoodie. Available now at fuentes.store. The site appears to be inoperable at this time. But it all really comes together, doesn't it? So, folks, understand that we are currently under assault in a lot of different a lot of different theaters. There is a war on us by fascists, and it is a war on us whether we want it or not. And we need to get organized. You need to start taking action in your community. Because right now, a lot of this is playing out in, you know, rarefied spaces or, you know, the wilds of the World Wide Web, right? But their goal is to attack us. Their goal is to kill us. And I don't say that lightly either. Okay? I don't say that in like a, oh, haha, they're trying to kill us. Haha. Like, no, they're actually trying to kill us. Here is Nick Fuentes talking about folks in Minneapolis, people like me. Please pull the trigger. Please kill them, Mr. President. I'm not actually wishing for violence, but please send in the military and restore order.
So we'll talk all about Greenland. We're going to talk about Trump's potential invocation of the Insurrection Act in Minneapolis. I wish he would. I wish he would. He keeps talking about it. Amid the unrest and riots in Minneapolis in response to the ICE deployment. By the way, nobody has been arrested. Do you know that? There have been all these riots happening in Minneapolis. Last night, you have an ICE agent, I think actually it happened this afternoon. He shot a Venezuelan illegal because he was trying to arrest this guy, and a bunch of agitators came out and hit him with shovels. And so ICE barged in, arrested everybody. But in Minneapolis, there's straight up riots going on. They're shooting fireworks at cops, taking over hotels.
There are not riots, by the way.
Mayhem. And you see the videos by Nick Sorter and these other guys. It's all over Twitter. Do you know that Minneapolis police arrested 0 people last night? So when you see these videos of fireworks blowing up and cops getting beat and the absolute anarchy that's unfolding, nobody's even getting arrested. So Trump says, I'll invoke the Insurrection Act. Bro, do it. Do something. Just stop chickening out. I'm just tired of the idle threats. We're going to bomb you. We're going to tariff you. We're going to invoke the Insurrection Act. Always chickens out. Just do it. You're the commander-in-chief. He does it every time. He did it.
Does he realize people have been executed on those streets? Yeah. Nick Fuentes is a Nazi. Nick Fuentes is a Nazi, guys. Like, these people want to kill you. If you are here watching this stream, they want you dead. This isn't abstract to them. Their desire is for you to die. And if you ask them directly, by the way, they'll get cagey as fuck. They'll be like, oh, well, I don't want I don't want anyone to die. I just think, the non-whites belong in a different country. But in reality, when they're in there safe spaces, they'll openly talk about wanting us to die or even wanting to kill us themselves. I just want you guys to know that there is a through line from Jeffrey Epstein to 4chan and Poll to Nick Fuentes to Ben Shapiro. Like, this is all part of a concerted effort. This is all part of a concerted effort to radicalize the United States towards fascism. And as far as the fascists are concerned, this is open. They have openly declared their intention. And so it is incumbent upon all of us to get involved and get organized now. It is incumbent upon you guys to get fucking organized in your community, to join your local neighborhoods, to join your neighborhood watch, your local patrol for ICE, your local, school pickup patrol. It is incumbent on you to start getting organized in these ways. Join your local Dems, join your local DSA, be part of an organization that can make safe the people in your community so that we can stand up for our neighbors, so that we can keep us safe. Because congressional Dems aren't going to come to our rescue unless we make them come to our rescue. It is not going to be something where, of their own volition, our elected members of Congress are going to be able to save us. We need to organize in a way we have never organized before, and we need to beat these fascist bastards. It is necessary for us to do this because right now, there is an active project overseen by Barry Weiss to reassemble a network of some of the most powerful people in the world in order to coalesce them behind this far-right project, to coalesce them behind Donald Trump. Because let's not forget who put Barry Weiss in charge. Barry Weiss was put in charge by Donald Trump's friends. She knows what masters she serves. So folks, get organized. I know a lot of you guys have gripes with the Democratic Party. I don't care. You need to organize with some people. That's a ready group for you to organize with. Radicalize them to better policies in the process. Organize and make more effective your local DSA. Folks, if you need help getting onboarded into these organizations and knowing what to do, how to act, how to speak, how to be a more effective agent of change in those organizations, join our Discord, reach out to Gamergy for help with your local DSA. She is graciously a longtime organizer, making her skills available to you guys just at your disposal. If you need help organizing in your local Democratic Party, joining your local Dems, radicalizing them, reach out to Dragonfly in our community. Dragonfly has been a long-time organizer within the Democratic Party. She can show you the ins and outs of how to get things done in your local party. Okay? She is making her skills available to you guys. So folks, get to work organizing today. Because if we don't, we are all in more danger. Your loved ones are in more danger. You yourself are in more danger. We need to rise to meet this moment as we are under assault from fascists. Not just in the federal government, but in many of the walks of everyday life. We have to organize. Jack, why does the Discord need my phone number? Because there are a lot of bad actors who make bot accounts to try and infiltrate the Discord. And at the very least, we need to make sure that the people joining it are real individuals. It is a safeguard to make sure there aren't bot accounts invading our Discord space, posting gore, posting awful shit, which has happened in the past, and it's why we have that measure now. So folks, let's get involved. Wherever you are, even if it's a red city, red state, there are local Dems, there are local members of the DSA working every day to organize, and you got to get involved with them too. Folks, hit that follow button, hit that like button, drop a comment, share this video around. It is vitally important. And also, folks, check out ImogeneOlivia.com to piss these people off. It's a gender euphoric lingerie company designed from the ground up for trans femmes. It is tested on cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. To rave reviews, check it out. Non-tucking lingerie. Link should be down in the description. Let's keep on going together, okay, folks? We got this, as long as we organize.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube and swishy streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, gaming, and plenty more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord.